Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahala Imla, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakudash, and double honors to the great most apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone. Thadi Yahushua for the strength in order to make this video, and Yaratazal you find it edifying and exhorting. To edify means to build up, to exhort meaning to encourage. So that's really the intention of these videos when we create them. For those of us that are in Great Millstone, that I could say the least. But anyways, as I named the video, nightly terrors are from the Father of Spirits, and I'm gonna get those precepts soon. But really, the inspiration was for this video came from Job 7, because after I think it was from Job 5, it's pretty much just Job going on he's venting out, he's releasing some I guess you could say some pain through his words. You could say that. Even in the previous chapter, I believe he was also seeking death. He was seeking for the Most High to take his life. In fact, and I'm gonna just start from there then. Job 6 should be around, hold on, no, 4 to 5, but about 7 maybe. Hold on. Oh yeah, from verse 8. So I'm gonna read this because Job was going through a whole load, and of course from Job we ought to learn from it, because every brother has what they're going through, what they're suffering through, the pain that they have to endure. Sometimes it can be in phases. One phase of the truth, you'd be going through a certain physical pain. Another phase of the truth, you then go through a spiritual pain. So it depends on what the Most High wants you to go through. While some, you literally just got to go through that physical pain up to the very end. Hence a thorn. Anyway, so Job 6 and verse 8. Oh, that I might have my request, and that the Most High would grant me the thing that I long for. And this is what he longed for in verse 9. Even that it would please the Most High to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. As the scriptures say, death is better than continual sickness, because if continual sickness is that having, you're being poked all the time, just see it as a metaphor. It's that being poked all the time, and that it's annoying, it's painful, especially a sharp pain like that. That's what continual sickness can be described as, a constant poking of the skin. And it's like a sharp pain, come out of nowhere sometimes. Which really, it doesn't really come out of nowhere. It's the Most High's programming that's running in your vessel. So I'm going to get that. But yeah, he's asking for death. Let me read it in the NLT. Job 6 and 8. Oh, that I might have my request, that the Most High would grant my desire. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. You gotta be going through a high level of pain if you're gonna ask the Most High, please kill me. Because as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. But of course, the Most High knew this was just a test. So of course he, as brothers say, he winked at Job, during this time of releasing pain through his words. And the Most High does hear us when we also go on our little rants. Jacob, thou worm. So he hears us, but again, he also hears our prayers as well, in terms of needing help in these times, whatever pain that he may be going through. So anyways, before I get into the nightly terrors, let's oh yeah, what's that precept? I mentioned the precept just now, a few moments ago, and I was planning to get it before continuing on. Oh yeah, can't. Death is better than continual sickness. I'll read from verse 15. This is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 30, verse 15. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. Because of course, if you ain't got the health and you're able to be mobile and essentially just have the strength of the body to move around specifically, and also not just move around, but to be able to complete the tasks that you ought to complete, then of course you can't really enjoy the gold. You can't enjoy that infinite wealth, because you're just bedridden, not able to do anything. You're at the mercy of those who are looking after you. And that's really it. So that's why health and good state of the body are above all gold. So of course that's how we have to pray for strength. Of course of the spirit, but also of the mental and of the physical as well. Of your mind, so that you're stable, you're calm, you're able to be. And when you're stable and calm, that's how the precepts be flowing. During camp and when you're making these videos as well. You can't be in an unstable state to, of course, work in this truth. You gotta be in your optimum condition. So, and the fundamental part of that is sleep as well. And that in itself, if you have nightly terrors, which is pretty much just the Most High sending demons to, trouble you or just to test you, refine you. It's all about perspective here, to refine you. Sometimes it can be hard to get sleep. Can be hard to get sleep. But before I get into that, let's read on. So verse 16, there is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. So the joy of the mind, man. That's it. It said there's no riches above a sound body, a strong, healthy body. You can breathe, you can walk, you ain't got no organ failures. Everything's working well, your digestive system, lymphatic system, and all the other biological systems of the body, and your immune system as well. All of that is far greater than riches as well. So that's why we ought to say Thawda Yahweh, Thawda Yahweh Shai, for protecting us, our spirits, our minds, our bodies. We gotta be grateful for what we have as well. So yeah, verse 17, death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness, which was the one that I roughly quoted. Death is better than a bitter life, one with constant pain. People, it doesn't even have to be physical. It could just be, getting disrespected and treated like the scum of the earth, which is what Jake went through. And that's why a lot of Jake have that bitterness within them. It says bitter life or continual sickness, certain thorns, it could be cancers or which the Most High has put in the spirit upon Elder Hanak, GMS Apothecary, to get into their health as well. Certain videos that I be making, for whom that it applies to. Of course, you can use that knowledge to then heal yourself too. Because now you have, the Most High is exalting the physician. So that we're entering that era right now, man. Because it makes sense. It makes sense. The NHS over here and healthcare over there in America. What's this guy's name? I'm not gonna go too much on a different topic, but I'm gonna just mention it. Luigi Mangione, I believe that's how his name goes. The guy who killed the CEO of United Health, United Healthcare. I believe that was the name of the brand, the healthcare thing, the healthcare business. But nevertheless, because he Luigi Mangione, he was going through some back pain, man, and of course he wasn't really getting treated right. He wasn't. The point is they weren't giving him the proper treatment in terms of ensuring that he would be healed. So of course, the Most High put the spirit of vengeance upon him, and he sent a spirit back to the spirit realm. That's what happened there. So of course, with the NHS and all these other healthcare systems falling down, there would be a time where the reliance on going to the pharmacy or to get your tablets and whatnot, all of that will be done away with. It's only the knowledge that you got from Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Again, wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is also knowledge of the herbs as well to help heal you. So it's we're getting into a point where the Most High is making us more reliant on the root knowledge, the knowledge of the earth to help benefit our bodies, and also the knowledge of the scriptures. Because of course, from the scriptures we know certain things that we ought to study as well. Again, aka the herbs. Hence why the Most High is propping up all the physicians in all the camps. When I say all the camps, of course, within GMS to get on the herbs, man. You got one guy who specializes in that. And if not, there's always someone who's interested, and of course, you gotta try and hone into that spirit so that you can prop up the physician spirit within them. Certain brothers are into the herbs, of course, the stones in terms of healing properties and whatnot. Other brothers are into the Hebrew history. Everyone's got their specialty. Some likes to dabble here and there in all of it, which is a wonderful spirit, really, because it means you're more well-rounded. But nevertheless, we pray so that Yahweh Shemashah keeps the health of our body, because without Yahweh Shemashah, them herbs aren't going to work anyway. So it's always good to pray over them prior to taking them. But again, faith with works is key. So death is better than a bitter life and continual sickness. And let's get back to nightly terrors. All right, so yeah, Joe was going through pain, a lot of pain, hence why he asked for the Most High to kill him. But again, the Most High knew what he set upon him. So, of course, he just let that fly by. That's why, at his end, he was increased. He got double portion. So, in terms of his riches, his resources, and of course his seed as well multiplied. But yeah, let's get to this. So, Job 7, again, another chapter where Job was expressing himself. Which it happens, man. Sometimes, you be at home, you just be talking about, all the pain you're going through and afflictions, which is understandable. But always pray for strength to get through it. And always thank the Most High Yahweh, and of course Yahweh Shai, for the strength He's given you to go through it as well. And obviously for the things that He's already given you. Of course, if you need more as well, if you want more in terms of, better health, or of course more stability, in whatever manner of way, of course, pray for it, but also pray for the wisdom to know how to just pray for wisdom and guidance of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. That's what I'm trying to allude to. So Job 7 and verse 7 and verse 13, because when you pray for something, you don't want it to be your downfall. So of course you pray for it and you pray for the wisdom to handle it too. Now Job 7 and verse 13, when I say my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint, then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifies me through visions. That's an example of nightly terrors. Sometimes you have demons flipping. I'll tell you an example of a nightly terror as well. Of course, yeah, you guys have heard of sleep paralysis. I don't really talk on that, which is just a demon. At times, a demon just sitting on you. You can't do nothing. It's that you just have your eyes open. Typically, from there, before in the world, it's a case of you try and close your eyes. If you were a Christian before, you try and pray to Jesus Christ, which is an idol. But nevertheless, when you enter this truth through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, you learn to conquer those as well. And you don't really have those as often. Sometimes you even learn about certain techniques where, it prevents you from having them. Other times, you even come to the point where it's like you can feel it about to happen, but it's like, nah, you ain't doing this today. It's like you're telling the demon, no, you ain't doing this today, which I always say, remember, Yahweh said the spirits are subject unto you. Always got to remember that, because if you forget that, then the demons are going to leverage the fear within you. And it's from fear that's how they're able to control you. Nevertheless, so yeah, nightly terror, yeah, as I was saying, an example of a nightly terror, as I said, sleep paralysis, that's one. Another one is even when you're not paralyzed, sometimes, you may wake up, your eyes just open, maybe you just turned over on the bed, and then near the door you might see a shadow of a demon, just looking at you. I remember, I've mentioned this quite a few times, but here and there I'll mention it again for whomever it is for. A demon just looking at me with purple eyes near the door. So certain things like that can be considered as nightly terrors. Now, depending on how your spirit is, instinct instinct could come over. There's what was I going to say? Yeah, pretty much I was in the spirit of you can't do nothing to me, man. Straight up looking at them, you can't do nothing to me. So that's really it. Like, I don't know if that's the thing, because certain things that you instinctively do. It could be just how the Most High programmed your spirit. Other brothers, you gotta close your eyes and then you pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But for me, when I was saying that, it was just an inward knowing that Yahweh Shem Yahushua got me anyways. So I ain't gotta fear no demon with purple eyes. That was one thing. Another nightly terror is a demon trying to crawl on you. It's like sometimes these things be weird, man. It be weird. That's why you can't tell the normal folk of the world. It's like, what's going on with you, man? What's going on with you? And the thing is, if you tell them, they'll say, especially for the Christian lot, they'll say, "Oh, you got demons on you." Well, yeah, which is true, but it's for testing, so it's for refinement. And some of them will mock you and say, because you entered the truth, that's why you're going through this. Look at what Job went through, though. He was seen as a perfect man, as a righteous man, and he still was tested. He was going through nightly terrors as well. So it don't necessarily mean, well, yes, of course, we have sinned. In fact, where's that thing? Hold on. Yeah, this is the one. Hold on. So Job 7:20, I have sinned. What shall I do unto thee, O thou preserver of men? Who's the preserver of men? The Most High Yahweh. Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Why hast thou set me as a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself? You see, so Job just knew that, okay, maybe some stuff that he did, either in that life or the past life, because men of old did believe in reincarnation. Again, that's a topic for another day. But yeah, he says, I have sinned, what shall I do unto thee? Because he wants to make a right with the Most High, not knowing that the Most High just set him this just to be as a test. That's all it was. It wasn't that he did anything wrong. It was just a test. So that's the way we're also testing in this truth. But we know as well that we have sinned. Us living in this modern era, we have sinned as well. Hence why we pray every day. Baba Kasha, Salakya, Kaya Khatayam, which means, let me translate that. So Baba Kasha meaning please, Salakya meaning forgive me, Salak meaning forgive, Salakya meaning forgive me, Kaya meaning for, and then Khatayam, which means I believe it's for sins. Yeah, so Khatayamya, I believe is for my sins. So Babaksha Salakya Kaya Khatayamya. Please forgive me for my sins. Day to day, and even the Palau are the one, which is the Lord's Prayer as well. Forgive us our sins is also in there as well. So when you learn that in the ancient Hebrew, it's very, very potent, man. And you got to see it this way as well. When you go through resistance like that, spiritually, physically, just know that you're about to upgrade, man. As they say, new levels, new devils. It's quite literally what we go through in this truth. So again, nightly terrors can be one of the things, certain brothers will go through that phase in life or in this truth where you go through them demonic attacks. Of course, that's to also make sure that your faith is solidified in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Hence why certain times. Oh yeah, this is also another thing as well. You know me, I always like to talk about this. Prayer and fasting, man. Fasting as well. During the fast, of course, yeah, they try and trouble you. But you get to the point where as you then fast, it compounds, as I like to say, it compounds in terms of the spiritual benefits and the physical benefits too. It compounds. When you come to the point where they don't want to trouble you no more. They don't want to trouble you no more, man. The Most High withdraws them demons because he sees your efforts. He sees your efforts, and of course, when you got that spiritual shield around you as well, which fasting helps to strengthen. That helps to how can I say this? Well, yes, stray away demons. That's the thing; they stay away. Anyway, so yeah, I have sinned. What shall I do unto thee, O thou preserver of men? Yahweh Shem Yahshai, why hast thou set me as a mark against thee, so that I am a burden to myself? So he thought that he was marked for just demonic attack, which he was, but for testing sake, which we go through as well. So yeah, back to nightly terror. So yeah, man, you could have demons appear. Which the Most High will give you these, depending on the strength of your spirit. Of course, there's a certain, you gotta reach a certain level, before it's like, okay, the Most High shows you certain things like that, which will scare the normal mind. But yeah, we don't have to fear. We don't have to fear. Because remember, the Most High is the Father of spirits, so that's why when we have the names Yahweh and Yahushai, they go. They go. What's the magic word? It's not abracadabra. It's Yahweh Shim Yahushai. That's the magic. That's the magic names, supposedly saying. Of course, you brothers know what I mean. Really, they're the spiritual names I should be saying. But you get what I mean. You get what I mean. So, all right, let's get the Father of Spirits. But yeah, nightly terrors. That's another thing. I remember another demon. Whilst I was sleeping, I opened my eyes. Another one had red eyes, man, just looking at me. So you go through a lot of things, man. You go through a lot of things, but you have to have the inward knowing that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is protecting you. Simple as that. I remember making a testimony, not a little testimony, but yeah, some videos, I don't know, a few months ago on demons, man, and a demon trying to, what was it going? I don't know, it's like I felt the presence of a demon, the literal, of course, spiritual form, near me, as I was sleeping, and then I just woke up and I decided to strangle the bed sheet. Is that come over here, man? We're going to fight today. We're going to fight today, man. Sometimes as well after that happens, I start smiling after because you realize that the Most High really made me strangle the bed sheet, thinking, yeah, man, that demon's gone. But yeah, it's like it's kind of weird. You go through a lot of things. You go through a lot of things that are not normal. That's why you can't tell everyone. You can't tell everyone. Talk about your family and so-called friends of the world or people in the workplace. They won't understand. They won't comprehend what you're going through. Certain things you go through, not everyone will understand, man. Not everyone will understand. Anyway, so Hebrews 12:9. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? So of course, we're taught to respect our fathers, our physical earthly fathers, but how much more to respect the Most High Yahweh, of whom is the Father of all spirits, which means He created all the spirits. And of course, by having that knowledge, you know that them demons as well, through the power of Yahweh and Yahushua, they can't do anything to you. That's why you always got to think about these precepts, consistently, diligently. In fact, I'll just get that right now. Psalms 119 and verse 4. Psalms 119, let's highlight it. In verse 4, thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently, because once again, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thine times. When you have the knowledge of the scriptures, of course, this will help to give you a stable mind because you know how to defend yourself spiritually, physically, and mentally, which really spiritually surpasses them all, anyways. Once you handle it spiritually, the problems physically are already solved. So that's a hack of life that not many people know. Spiritual solutions for physical problems. So yeah, what else? Because I was talking about nightly terrors. But yeah, you go through that. Sometimes you might be having a dream. I remember there was a time where you know, I was just lying there on the sofa. I was about to go. I was just dozing off. I was dozing off, and then it's like I woke up all of a sudden, and it's like the scene was about to fall. It's like it was cracking up. It was about to fall, and then I looked up. And I just I just stood there. I stood there and then looked up to see is it actually happening. It's not. It's not happening. But I was like, damn. So yeah, that's an example of a nightly terror as well. And it was around the time of, I think it was like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., them type of hours. So yeah, man, spiritual warfare, it goes hardcore though, because you got them lot in the left hand side trying to send attacks to you, and then of course you gotta stand strong as well in your Bashim Yashai. Make sure your defenses are fortified so that they ain't they have no power over you. And you just gotta pray over these things, man. Them lot on the left hand side trying to send attacks, let them feel burning. Pray those things. Pray those things. Whatever you can say in the ancient Hebrew, say that. Whatever you can say in English, he still understands you. How Bashim Yashai still understands you. Alright, let's wrap this up. Hold on. Right, so this is Ecclesiasticus 25 and 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. And yeah, that plague of the heart ain't an easy thing to go through, man. At certain times, either during the day or during the night, you could get sometimes the Most High will send demons which will trouble your mind, which is what the heart is referring to. Skin crawling thoughts, which not the average individual in the world can handle. Certain with the plague of the mind, there's a reason why certain guys in the world, they bug out, man, because of the actions that they've done. Obviously killers as well. They definitely got the plague of the mind. Not just killers. Yeah, people who got severe demons on them, they got the plague of the mind too. But even those of us in this truth as well, some of us will have an inkling of what the plague of the mind is. Hence why some of us will then need to apply prayer and fasting, man, severely, to clear that out of our minds, to give us some peace, which is all through the spirit of Yahweh Shimi Al Shai, man. So again, nightly terrors of the mind, literal spiritual warfare, seeing demons, feeling demons as well. As I said, trying to strangle a demon. Imagine that. Again, it was from instinct. Sometimes most I could program you to be in that type of spirit. Other times it's like, okay, it depends on the brother, man. It really depends on the brother. That's just me, innit? Trying to get carnal on a demon. Yeah, but yeah, as I said, it was instinctual, but it's through the spirit of Yahweh Shimon Shai. It's like you can't do nothing to me. Yeah, you can send your attacks, but at the end of the day, I will win. That's the mindset you have to be in. You know why? You know why we're gonna win? Because Yahweh Shai has given us strength. He's given us authority over the spirits. That's why they don't want you to get this knowledge, man. Because once you get the knowledge, you got the key. You got the codes. You got the codes, man, to really protect yourself spiritually, first and foremost, and of course to heal yourself physically as well. Because the plague of the mind, it could be physical things you're doing that brings that in as well. It could be certain environments too. Obviously you can't really control everything. You go on the train and then certain folks come through. It's like, oh, what's up with this guy? But yeah, anyways. Certain points, that's why, every single day we gotta pray for the stability of mind, man, the strength of the spirit, mind, and body. So, anyways, I know I've I've talked a lot in this one, but Yaratazar, you got the precepts and you got the points to help you, on the day to day as a defense against these demons and attacks and whatnot. So yeah, nightly terrors are from the Father of Spirits. So if they're from the Father of Spirits, he can also remove them as well. In fact, final precept, final precept. Let me get it here in the blue letter. This is Psalms 33 and 20. Our soul waiteth for the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. He is our help and our shield. So again, Father of Spirits, as it says there, Lord in L-O-R-D, which really represents Yahweh. He is our help and our shield as well. So again, it's through Yahweh. That's how we get to Yahweh. He's the mediator. He's the link. Hence why we pray unto him, really. So again, help and our shield. Shield against spiritual attacks. from the left hand side, and of course help when it comes to your testing seasons as well. We're getting refined here. That's all it is. Because he who can stand in the fire the longest really will get the reward. And that fire metaphorically is talking about the affliction and suffering, which that affliction and suffering is the cross that we're holding. That's what the cross represents. Your affliction and your suffering. As Apostle Gabar says, we're here to suffer. That's a hardcore saying, man, because not everyone is going to be able to stomach that as well. But you always got to bring in the balance as well. We're suffering now so that we can enjoy the kingdom later, and we're grateful for it later. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. Shalom, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Barakatah.